But I got one of these home pod things, and it's trying the sound. It's pretty good, man. Pretty good sound. Hope everybody's doing good. I was also watching my past videos, and I realized sometimes my energy goes low. So I'm trying to do something a little different. Anyways, we're gonna get started. Normally, I like to get started at the 30-second mark and get going. So today's interesting topic: servant leadership. Anyways, let me just stop this music. It might mean I have to go offline. I don't even know how this thing works, but let's just see. Hopefully not. I guess the music will be playing in the background, but just put it really low. Anyways, so today we're going to be talking about servant leadership. When you get started, so let's get this show on the road. Hi and welcome. I think today is my 19th episode of the Cimifly Life, the Entrepreneur's Journey. I am your host, Cecil Williams. So today's sponsor message is brought to you by Royal Dynamite. Royal Dynamite. And we believe in self-expression through fashion to facilitate change. So Royal Dynamite believes that culture can drive change in communities around the world through fashion, collaboration, and creativity. Royal Dynamite uses our collective love of fashion to inform, educate, and inspire communities around the world. Check us out at royaldynamite.com. Get a hat, get a t-shirt, get a Freetown tee, whatever. Just give a gift. It's about to be Black Friday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, the holiday season. Give a gift to your loved one. Anyway, so yeah, let's get started. So today the topic is servant leadership. This is quite an interesting topic. Like I said, I try to keep these things under 20 minutes and might go over a little bit. But if I do, I see somebody put a comment here. I have to learn how to manage my comments. What's up, Yakuba? What's going on, brother? Much love, bro. Appreciate it. So yeah, the definition: servant leadership is a leadership philosophy built on the belief that most effective leaders strive to serve others rather than accrue power or take control. The aforementioned others can include customers, partners, fellow employees, and the community at large. The term was coined by management expert Robert K. Greenleaf. And since this is a show about entrepreneurship and business, I like to keep the context towards that. But as I mentioned in my promo video, I gave one of the examples that one of the best places you get to see or not see servant leadership as plays is in politics, especially within African politicians. And I always say if more of our politicians were about not less about power grabbing and whatever they're about and about being servant leaders, the continent would be a much more improved place to live for everyone and for even us in the diaspora to want to go back home. So we normally like to get started with some quotes, and then we're going to talk about some talking points, and then I'm going to leave you with some things about how you can be a better servant leader, because I think it will serve you in your business, in your family life, or anything you do in your community, in your nonprofit, or anything you do. I think it's important for us to learn that we have to serve. If we want to be leaders, it's best to serve than to just want to just kind of just do whatever we want to do anyway. So cool. It says if you want to lift yourself up, lift someone else. Booker Washington. Um, and before I even get started, because I think this quotes pertains to someone that who says it a lot. And as I talk about this, rest in peace to Davido's son, because I think that happened yesterday or today. And so before I even go ahead and mention him, rest in peace to his son, and hope this comforts his family, and wish them all the best. I know during this trying and hard times, but he has this saying where he says, "We rise by lifting others," and this is the time where the community has to rally around him to lift him. So if you kind of take his music, he serves. He creates something for all of us to enjoy. He puts a lot of joy into the world through his music, and that's what he means by "we rise by lifting others." So, like the quote says, if you want to lift yourself up, lift someone else up. I think it's very important that people have to understand the base of that concept. It's as simple as that. If you want to do well in life, help others, provide value to others. In the context of business, I make a T-shirt. I think when we started this, it could have started off of a passion, which it did, or whatever. But then we had to figure out how do we serve, and serving was, in this case, what's up, Mo? How you doing? Serving was, in our case, learning how to connect to our consumers, and we did. I'm not wearing it today, but we did a Freetown T-shirt, which was connecting to our roots, connecting to where we were from, connecting to Sierra Leone, and that changed the trajectory of the brand because we were serving them. We were giving them what they wanted, what they didn't know they needed, and that type of stuff. So the next is it says servant leadership is servant first. It begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve first. Then conscious choice brings one to aspire to lead. So, and this goes from the guy who created the whole servant leadership. Good to see you too, man. Robert K. Greenleaf. So, servant leader, like it says, you serve first. And it's funny because one of someone that I look up to from afar and have been in these circles, Maurice Philogen is actually on live now. And being in the circle with him and people like Jerome and stuff like that in the Real Estate Circle, I learned major about what it took. I mean, I've always been someone who likes to give value, but at the end of the day, this is not just about just giving value, but this is about serving. This is about taking all the knowledge to see these people having the knowledge they've acquired in corporate America and all the things that they've done. I mean, this is a man who I was telling my wife the other day who had a corporate job with one of the big four consulting firms and was a police officer at night. And that's service at the highest level. I mean, because you're giving back more than more than life can give you. You're giving back to your community. You're giving back to people. And that's what leadership is. That's not, because I always say, coming where I come from, seeing what I see in the communities, and especially in political landscape, but this even spills over to everything we do in life in Sierra Leone and other West African countries. People think it's you get to the top and you just accumulate power and you just sit there and now people are supposed to serve you. No, it doesn't happen that way. You have to serve people. You have to be there to make sure people get. I mean, that's how. So, for example, it's interesting. One of the best examples I like to give is there was a Brazilian president who had power for about 8 years. Can't really remember his name. I think he was De Silva or something like that. He was able to lift 33 million Brazilians out of poverty. Think about that. I always say, think about that. Sierra Leone has a population of about 7 million. Imagine if a president comes to power and is able to, or every 5 to 10 years, a president comes to power and is able to lift 2 million Sierra Leoneans out of poverty and get them to be able to live comfortably. Like, think about that. Just think, that is servant leadership. You aim to serve the people. You aim to make sure, there you go. You aim to make sure people get what they need. And if they get what they need, trust me, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't keep electing you. I don't see any reason why they would object to you being the CEO, being their boss, because you're there to serve them. You're there to listen. You're there to care for them. You're there to make sure their needs are met. And it's human nature. I think when you care for people, when you give them information, when you give them what they want, there's this level of reciprocity that they feel that they're going to give back. This is just natural human dynamics, and this is how we need to function. The third one says, the servant leader believes that my success is your success, period. At the end of the day, when you're running a company, I mean, if I succeed, you succeed. And it's funny because for me, having gone through corporate America sometimes, there's these power struggles you have with people who do not know how to lead. Simply because maybe you have a boss where they always want to micromanage. I mean, that's another feature of maybe not being a servant leader, always wanting to micromanage, wanting to see what you're doing, wanting to make sure this, wanting to take credit for everything. It doesn't work that way. That's not how service works. You have to make sure you empower the people you work with, empower your employees, give them credit for what, because if you're making the success of the team theirs, they're just going to keep working for you. And I mean, they're not even going to feel enslaved to anything. They're just going to say, what do we need to do to make you succeed? What do we need to do to make, when you go into this board meeting today, we all look like superstars. Oh, he had been out of office for 4 years. There you go. So that reminds me. So yeah, check out that guy. Check out his story. Google his story. This man was able to get 33 million people out of poverty in Brazil. Trust me, this is a huge deal. And I always keep saying more leaders around the world need to emulate that type of stuff. Like, I mean, they need to make a case study in universities and all these places to just kind of see like, hey, what did he do? Who did he listen to? What did he embody to make sure he was able to serve his people? So yeah, um, at the end of the day, I think, and it's funny because while I was researching this, I was looking online to see people who were servant leaders that we could relate to. So there are a few, but when you go back to times, I mean, what the internet generally leads is Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa. I mean, and not that we cannot relate to these people. At the end of the day, this is a different generation. We now are dealing with Gen Zs. We're now are dealing with the millennials and Gen Zs. And I mean, yes, they've heard about these people. So it's difficult to say. I mean, in your life, I guess the best way is if you kind of look at it like for those that have our mothers and fathers at home, and our mothers are like what I would call a servant leader. She runs the household. She's the leader of the house. But at the same time, she's there to make sure everything is going. She's there to serve. She's there to make sure. I mean, and it can happen vice versa. She's there to make sure her husband is taken care of. She's there to make sure the kids are good. She's there to make sure her parents are good. I mean, if you want to look at an example of maybe that, and that role can be switched over to the father who's taking care of his children, wanting to make sure his children are okay, wanting to make sure his wife, wanting to make sure his parents. That's servant leadership. You're leading. You're at the helm of the family. You're the patriarch of the family, but you are making sure the people you serve are taken care of. But now, like I said, for me, one of my biggest heroes is Nelson Mandela. I mean, I always say what that man endured to lead his nation. There's very few people in the world who will ever go through something like that. Ultimately, he spent 27 years in jail, knowing the bigger purpose of what he needed to do was liberate his people from apartheid. At the end, I mean, this is amazing. Like there's not, if we have more people like that on that continent, we will be liberated because he understands the long game. He understood the sacrifice he had to make for his people. That's another thing about servant leadership that I haven't mentioned that is probably one of the most important and crucial things. People understanding that it is sacrifice. It is a life of service. You have to sacrifice yourself. You have to sacrifice a lot to make sure other people, but it's like, my success is your success. I mean, at the end of the day, Nelson Mandela became president of South Africa. He became a beacon of hope for Black, brown, and a lot of people around the world. So at the end of the day, this man became a hero, someone who we could talk about today. I mean, he endured a lot, but he served his people. Now, in the business world, I listened to a podcast recently. I think it's called Business Wars, and they talked about Herb Kelleher, who's the CEO of Southwest. I've read his story in a book. I've listened to the podcast, and he is a good example of someone who is a servant leader. Think about where Southwest came from, and today it is one of the top airlines in the United States, and even if not in the world. Yes, it doesn't go to a lot of international places. It does now, but its business model, when Southwest started trying to undercut the competition by being cheap or doing all these things, if you go back and read about Herb Kelleher's will to succeed, to make sure he served his people. I mean, they had union wars and all these different things. And every time these things happened, he always used to say things like that hurt him because he wanted to make sure his employees were good. And as a result, if you've ever taken a Southwest airline, it's like you go there and everybody just is happy. And you keep thinking to yourself, like, are these people at Southwest any happier than the people at like Delta or United? I mean, I like Delta, but I think Southwest's business model of how he treated his employees, what he preached to his employees about the importance of coming in every day, giving it all, your all, making sure the next person next to you is working, because he believed that it was teamwork. If you get to put in the work and you get to come and show up every day happy, then you get to help the other person. You serve the other person, making sure whatever they needed, they got, then everything goes smoothly. So you get to the airplanes. He made sure the hostesses were cheerful and happy, and the way they dressed and everything, because that oozed off into the customer. The customer comes out feeling good because he was served. The customer comes out telling somebody else, hey, I took Southwest. I mean, yes, I sat in the middle seat, but for some reason I enjoyed my flight. And somebody says, well, it's cheaper, I'm going to go there. And that's how he was able to win over his employees and win over customers. And today, I think it's top 3 major airlines in the United States. Another company is Publix. If you live in the Southeast, you've probably been into a Publix supermarket. Boy, Publix is, man, it's funny because in the last 3 places I've lived within maybe a mile of Publix. And every time you walk into a Publix supermarket, they put a master class on about service. From the guy pushing the trolley to the guy bagging to the teller or whatever. I mean, there's always a manager in there. That's always, I mean, like the one we go to right now, the customer service manager is always there bagging. And when she's done, she's like, do you need help? Do you need me to take the stuff to your car? And sometimes you think to yourself, like, but you're the manager. But this is what we've been conditioned to think. The higher people go, the more powerful they become, then they're not there to serve. But at Publix, they teach everyone. It doesn't matter. You're walking down the aisles. The store manager could be there. Can I help you with anything? And you're looking for something and you say, oh, I'm looking for butter. It's on aisle 15. And you're like, where is that? They will walk you to aisle 15 to make sure you get there. And they give you such a good experience in service that when you walk out of Publix, you want to keep coming back. I have a Walmart and a Publix within maybe a mile, 2 miles from where I live. I don't go to Walmart a lot. It's cheaper. I mean, I've been there. One time I went there and I bought similar things that I would do, groceries at Publix, and I'm just like, damn, it's so much cheaper. I'm going to be coming to Walmart more often. But no, the service alone of Publix, the convenience of what they do, how the employees make you as the customer feel. Now it's bar none, and that's what I keep saying. So take all these things in mind, and you have to learn that this is what you pass on to your customers. This is how you treat your community. This is how you treat the people around you. This is how you treat your friends and family. You have to serve, and if you serve, people are going to love you. People are going to like you, and it's not just to be liked or loved. It's to make sure we all get to live in a society that everyone's living, everybody's fulfilling their true north, what they want to do. So with that said, I'm going to leave you with 5 most prominent characteristics of servant leadership. So take these things in mind, and these are things that I think if you practice, it'll make you a better servant leader. It's going to make you more successful. It's going to make the things that you get involved in a little bit more better than what they are. I mean, you have to value people. It starts with that. Ultimately, treat people with respect, treat people with dignity, and make sure you give people what they need. Just value people in an organization. If someone's doing good, let them recognize them. If someone's falling by the wayside, pick them up. We rise by lifting others. So that's one of the things. Value people. Humility. I'm not going to get into this too much, but Kanye West suffered a lesson in humility, and he himself said it recently. At the end of the day, I'm not going to get into all the specifics about what he's doing or not doing, but ultimately, he rose to the top and he forgot who he was. He forgot who got him there, and he lost his sense of humility. He became arrogant, and he said it in one of his interviews that this was an opportunity where God was humbling him to understand what his people were going through, or what it felt like. As a servant leader, you have to put people first. It doesn't matter what your goals are. You can, yes, there's nothing wrong with having ambitious goals and saying, this is where I want to get to. But ultimately, there are going to be people who have to get you there. We're not, I mean, it's like the idea when people say self-made this. I'm not saying people don't work hard by themselves to get them. It's their dream. It's their idea. But in order to execute anything, you need people. You need a mentor, a teacher. Someone's going to have to be a part of your journey. So in that case, those people that are helping you, make sure it's like, help me help you. They serve you, you serve them. Listen, and that brings to the next point. You have to listen to people. You're not an island. No, and the saying, no man is an island. Ultimately, as you go through life, you're going to need to listen to people. It starts from a very young age. Our parents start the process, our teachers and our professors and all that stuff, and they start talking to us. What's up, Ralph? What's going on? You have to listen to people. You have to be in a position where you're teachable, you're coachable. You have to be in a position where you walk in a room, you might know a topic, but hey, if someone's passionate about that particular topic, listen to them, give them your ear. I mean, it's funny, I always say I like to talk about money, personal finance, money. And if I go into a room and I meet somebody else talking about that topic, I don't just walk away like, oh, this person's stealing my show. No, I listen, because they're going to be saying something that I get to learn, because I don't think anybody's a professional in any particular topic, or even experts learn. I mean, I was listening to a podcast. I listen to a lot of podcasts, by the way, and it said something about like, and this is how TripAdvisor became the company that it is, where I guess it's one of these things where the community becomes more of an expert than the expert themselves. So think about how TripAdvisor works. People go on vacation, they stay at a hotel, they take pictures, and they come, they review a hotel. When we go on these things, whether it's TripAdvisor or keep forgetting the other one, but anyway, even Turo, all these things, we go and check what other people have said about these establishments, about these businesses. And as a result, it's because we listen to what they say. We listen to what the collective, what the community has said. It's better than if the hotel came themselves, or they hired an influencer to say, hey, we're the best hotel. I mean, think about ads versus user-generated content. Now, the next part is trust. When you listen to people, you have to trust people. You have to believe that, I mean, there's a saying, trust but verify. So as much as you have to put trust in people, so in an environment, if you're a leader, you have to trust that people are going to do what you tell them to do. Now, obviously, that's where the verify part comes. You can't just be willingly trusting of people, because people will take advantage of your trust. That's just human nature. So again, trust but verify. And the last one is you have to care. If you care for people, if you genuinely, truly care for people, they will kick that care back to you. They will give it back to you. So if you have employees, and I know Ralph is on this one, where he runs his subways, and I'm on the phone with him at times, and we're talking, we're having our meetings and stuff, and his employees, and how you see he treats his employees. Like, it's funny, we had this conversation one time. He understood they were students. He understands these kids need to make money. He understands if they find a better opportunity, they're leaving. So what can he do to make sure he doesn't just treat them like employees making minimum wage? He's been in that position before. He's been a young person, so he understands. He empathizes with them, so he treats them like he would have wanted to be treated. That's caring. He makes sure, okay, if you guys meet these goals, I'm going to give you a gift certificate to, let's just say, Nike. And I mean, that has nothing to do with Subway, because he could just give you a gift certificate to getting more sandwiches that you make every day. But he's like, no, I'll give you a gift certificate to the movies. Maybe you like going to the movies. So you're showing people that they care. If you show people that you care, they will reciprocate and care back for whatever you are doing. In this case, it's your business. And if it's a country, in this case, if you think about it, as a servant leader, if you're saying, I'm not just cooped up in power, I'm sitting in my higher office and doing all these things, if you show the populace that you care about them, they will care back. They will say, okay, this guy is really showing us that they really care about us. We're going to do the right thing. I mean, people want to do the right thing, but they want to be led. part of that leadership comes with serving. So I'll go over them again. Important, value people. Make sure you treat people the right way all the time. Humility, make sure you are humble. As you ascend, there's going to be a lot of reasons for you to be an arrogant person because you're accumulating power. You're accumulating, especially like I always keep saying, if I keep going back to Africa, as you ascend people, yes, boss. They start treating you like God. You have to make sure you find a way to stay humble. Listen to people. Always listen to people. Make sure you are listening to what people have to say, because only when you listen to people are you going to know what they want for you to serve them. If you cannot listen to people, you cannot serve them. So I always say with all these things, as I put them out, I listen to my friends give me feedback. They tell me you cut out the ums, you say too many. Like over time, I've become confident and say, okay, and I'm still not getting it right. So I love the feedback. I want people to tell me what I'm doing wrong, what I'm doing right, but how can I improve at things? So listen to people. Trust. You have to make sure you ensure people with trust, because at the end of the day, if you teach people something, if you have employees, you're going to want to trust them. If I taught you how to do things, this is the process. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to have to trust you with money because I expect you to do the right thing. You have to give trust to people, and you have to care for people. Lastly, if you care for people, they will treat you right. They will give back to you. So with that said, this concludes the end of servant leadership. We definitely went over 20 minutes. We do 26, but I enjoyed this one. I want to bring somebody on again, maybe next year, because I have like a full schedule of topics that we could talk about, that I could talk to about servant leadership, because I think it's important for you to hear it from somebody, because this is research, my perspective, and things like that, my opinion. But I think if I talk to someone from who I believe is a servant leader, because like I said, we're talking to millennials, we're talking to Gen Z, we're talking to people here. They don't know, they can go read about Nelson Mandela, MLK, and all these people, but they want to see in real life what a servant leader is like. So like I mentioned to you, there are a few people you can go check out. Ralph Diesel, my business partner, go check him out. Somebody who we've been business partners for over 12 years. One of the people who was online not too long ago, his name is Maurice Philogene. Go check him out. I wish I could put the spellings to their names and all that stuff, but hopefully I get it. The beauty with search engines, if you can type in people's names, then you can go, you're going to follow these people's journeys. LinkedIn, Instagram, and places like that. You will get to see that what they do, and they get to show you what servant leadership is. So check these people out. At least you get to see people today who do these things, and not the people who are mentioned just for the sake of saying, hey, Nelson Mandela was a servant leader, MLK was a servant leader, and that type of stuff. But we get to see people today, and we get to learn from examples of people we actually can see doing these things. So I really appreciate everybody who came on. Thank you guys very much. To everybody who comes on, everybody who shares this, everybody who taps in, everybody who watches this later on, massive thank you to you guys. I really appreciate everything you guys do for me, because you guys help me build my confidence to keep doing this, and so we can all grow. I always tell my friends, we all we got, and my success is your success. So thank you guys very much. Appreciate everyone. Signing out.